If some Yahoo walked up to you on the street and said, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, and you have to hustle yourself into the ground to earn money because you don't deserve anything good, you would be like, F you, a-hole, and keep walking. So why have you been living by these stories since you were 6 years old just because your parents said them at the dinner table? Welcome to video 6 of the Broke versus Abundant Energy series, and this may be the most important one yet because everything that we've talked about so far, like self-trust, self-worth, and investing in yourself, all of it has a root, and today we're going to the root. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where your money stories came from, what inherited money beliefs actually look like in real life so that you can start recognizing yours, and a shift that allows you to rewrite the story and start making decisions based on your truth. And if you're new to this series, Broke and Abundant Energy isn't just about money. It's about who you are and how you show up in life. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you blindly believe what other people tell you because that's what they believe, even if it's family, then it's affecting your bank account too. It is all connected. And if you're new to this channel, I am Angie, the Inner Glow Coach, and I help successful on paper women expand their inner and outer wealth so that their life feels as good as it looks. And if you don't know my backstory, I have a finance degree from the Indiana Kelley School of Business, and I spent over 20 years working in finance in corporate America. And I still had to do this exact work of rewriting my money beliefs on myself. And then I had to do it again when I became an entrepreneur, because that's how deep these stories go. And they can be so sneaky. And that's exactly why we're talking about it today. And stay until the end because, like all of my videos, I'm going to give you at least one action step that you can start using today that will instantly show you how to rewrite your money stories. Because none of my videos are about information. Information is everywhere. You don't make real change in your life without taking bold action. So it's all about taking massive action in life, and that's how we go from knowing to glowing. The reason why identifying and rewriting your money stories is so important is because any personal finance advice, or even a lot of manifestation or woo-woo advice, completely skips over any of this. And money stories are very sneaky because logically, you already know what you should be doing with money. Save more, spend less, invest, negotiate your salary, stop buying bullshit that you don't need. You're not an idiot. You know all of this, yet you may not be doing it, or you may still feel stuck, or maybe you feel all guilty and weird about money. And if this is you, it's not because anything is wrong with you. It's because you're operating from a money story that isn't even your belief. It's not even a fact. So I want you to think about, where did you first learn about money? And for most people, it's from your primary caregivers. And for most of us, this is our biological parents, but this is any adult who is your primary caregiver from birth to age 18. So it could be a step parent, it could be a grandparent. DNA doesn't matter. What matters is the adults that you spent the most time around in your formative years. And guess what? Your caregivers, they were operating from money beliefs that were handed to them by their primary caregivers. And their primary caregivers were operating from money beliefs that were handed to them by their primary caregivers. So this could go back thousands of generations, because even before the money that we know was currency, people used other things for currency. They would trade, camels for donkeys or whatever. And I guarantee even back then, people had currency stories that they told themselves and had all these weird beliefs. And we're just adopting them and not even questioning if they're true or not. So back to your primary caregivers, their stories came from their family, their circumstances, their fears, their culture, and most likely they came out of survival mode. And so a lot of these stories sound like very fear-based. For example, money is the root of all evil. You have to struggle or hustle to earn money. Rich people are greedy. Rich people are lucky. Rich people are different from us. There is never enough. Or the ever so popular, money doesn't grow on trees. Or maybe you didn't even talk about money, which is equally as dangerous because then it becomes this taboo thing and you never learn anything about it because nobody ever talks about it. And this is why it's so important to dig into these stories. It's because they don't just affect your savings account. They affect whether you believe deep down that wealth is actually available to you. Because I don't know about you, but for me, for a long time, I always had this belief that things, and it wasn't just money, but maybe love or money or opportunities, I always felt like they were available to other people and not me. And that is the root of the issue. And the reason why these can be sneaky is because you can earn, or as I like to say, receive money with these stories, but it does put an upper limit on the amount. And I know this from my own personal experience and the clients that I've worked with. So let's get to the juicy part of this. Your inherited money stories are beliefs. They are not facts. They are not the truth. It's a survival strategy that worked for your primary caregivers in a completely different circumstance. And you absorbed it before you had the ability to decide whether or not it actually applied to your life, which means that you've been running on autopilot this entire time. And I'll try not to go off on a tangent, but in general, autopilot is a very scary state of being because you aren't questioning anything, especially things that don't make sense. So in general, I highly recommend a daily practice of intentionally pulling yourself off autopilot. And I'm talking even when you're brushing your teeth, even when you're doing something very mindless that you don't need to think about, just stay in the practice of pulling yourself out of autopilot. And another part of this, I highly recommend questioning everything you do and why you do it. And I know this sounds extreme, but I promise you it will change your life. And it will especially change your life with money because a lot of times these stories are completely running in our subconscious. Because if I asked you now, what are your money stories? Consciously, you'll probably be able to come up with a list, but I guarantee there's at least a few that are running on your subconscious level that you're not even able to consciously identify. Because, we don't walk around thinking, I believe money is scarce. We just feel anxious every time we check our bank account. Or we're not consciously thinking, I don't deserve to earn more. We just always somehow accepting the first offer or settling for less. And that's why it gets scary because you're just running on autopilot, accepting things that you are better for. If you accept a lower salary when you deserve more, that's just running on an autopilot subconscious behavior. And I'm going to tell you a personal story of how this played out in my own life to show you how sneaky some of these stories can be. And again, I have a whole list of money stories that I used to have, but I'm going to name the two most impactful ones. One was that you had to work hard for money. And by work hard, I mean burn the candle at both ends, hustle, grind, you can't even be happy in your own life. And my parents were the role models for this. So my mom was a nurse and she earned an hourly rate. So she was always about logging the hours and especially about picking up the extra time so that she could get time and a half. So her whole life was built around getting as much overtime as possible. And my dad's job, I don't think it was 100% commission, but there was a commission base. So again, it was built on working harder, working more. And so I always had that mindset that you have to work hard and grind. And the funny part about this is when I graduated college, before I became an entrepreneur, I worked in corporate America for 20 years. And every single job I had in corporate America was salary based. And there was a bonus component to it. But with salary, you get paid the same whether you're working 30 hours a week or 80 hours a week. But I was always about the grind and earning and whatever, because it was so ingrained in my mind that you had to trade time for money and you had to hustle into the ground just to earn money. So that was one thing that really impacted my life. And then the other major money mindset that was ingrained in me was this overall scarcity mindset. And this came from, there were many things that this came from, because in general, our household ran on a scarcity mindset. But one thing my mom would always say was that rich people are sinful. And this came from the idea that there was only a limited amount of money available. So if one person had a bunch of money, that means they're taking it away from someone else. So even as an adult, when I started to earn more money, there was always a part of me that would feel guilty because there were other people who had less than me. And so when I became an entrepreneur, one of the biggest reality checks that I got right off the bat was how different an entrepreneur mindset was from the corporate America mindset that I had been operating on for so long. So I started to do a lot of inner work on myself to get myself into this entrepreneur mindset. And one of the things that I really struggled with the most was that entrepreneurs don't trade time for money. And I was struggling with this so much that I actually took this money mindset coaching program. And I won't go into all the details, but basically at the beginning, you write a list out of all your money beliefs, and then every day you work on a belief until it didn't exist anymore. And so on my list, I had rich people are sinful. And every day when I was going through my list to decide which one I wanted to work on, I would always skip over that one, because logically I knew money was abundant. I knew someone having a bunch of money wasn't taking it away from someone else. So logically, I was like, I know this, I don't need to work on it. And by the way, the words I know can be some of the most dangerous words that you can ever speak. So I was like, oh, I already know this. And so I would skip over it. And then one night, I had a dream, and I was exchanging money with a cashier at a store, and she handed me some money, which was presumably my change. And I was like, no, you can keep it. And she looked me in the eyes and said, you having this money doesn't take it away from someone else. And I woke up and I was like, I need to work on that belief. So my point is, these stories run so deep that sometimes you, like, again, logically you think you know, but subconsciously they're still running the show. So my whole point of telling you these stories is this is why information alone never changes your financial situation, because you can read every personal finance book ever written, and you could look in the mirror and be like, I am a money magnet. And you'll still find yourself in the same patterns, because the patterns are not in your conscious head. They're in your subconscious and your nervous system and your identity. Because if you have a deep belief about what kind of person you are and what kind of life is available to you, then that's what your beliefs dictate, and that's what runs your life. So until you identify the actual inherited money story running the show, no strategy in the world is going to stick in the long term. It might work short term, but is not going to work long term. So you may be wondering, how do I actually rewrite a money story, especially if it's been running for decades? So let's get into it. So this is I think it's going to be the only action step, because there's several different pieces to it. Action step number 1, step 1, identify the story. So think about what you heard about money growing up. And it may not even be something that you were explicitly taught. So again, my mom would explicitly say that rich people are sinful, but it could also be the offhand comments, the arguments, The things that were never said, but you could feel the energy when your parents were talking about money, or when they were talking about other people who had more, or when they were talking about other people that had less. Because as children, we're very intuitive and we can read energy. So even if it was something that you could feel when your parents were talking about money, that counts. So write it down, write all of it. And you could have a whole list, but for the purposes of this exercise, just work on one at a time. And step 2, ask yourself, is this true? That's it. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Like, is it mine? Does it apply to my life right now? 99.99999% of the time, the answer is no. It was someone else's truth and someone else's situation, but we carry those things around like it belongs to us, and it doesn't. We're not doing that anymore. Step 3, write the new story. Just to be clear, this is not an affirmation that you do not believe yet. I'm not a huge fan of affirmations because if you don't believe it, it just feels weird and uncomfortable and like you're forcing yourself to do it. This is a genuine reframe based on evidence from your own life, because I guarantee that you've already proven that some of your inherited beliefs are not true, because you've earned money, you've saved money, you've made good financial decisions. Even if it's just one circumstance in your life, that is evidence that it's possible. So use that evidence to write a money story that actually belongs to you. And if you are new to this channel, I have a whole playlist on creating your own rules for life, because that's basically what this is all about. We don't play by other people's rules anymore. We create our own rules for life, and our new rule for our money stories is one that's grounded in the truth. Step 4, and this is the most important part, and this is the part that most people skip, because rewriting the money story is not just a mindset exercise. It's part of it, but how you actually rewrite the money story is a behavioral practice. It means making financial decisions from the new story even when the old one is screaming at you, because I promise you it will be. And it means doing things that are scary and out of your comfort zone because you haven't done them before. And I lied. I'm going to put a secondary action step in here, because when you start practicing your new money story in the wild, it is going to be scary. And sometimes it's hard to feel safe in our body while feeling those feelings. So here is a simple exercise that will help you feel safe in your body within 90 seconds when you feel triggered. So when you feel triggered, when you go out in the wild, you practice your new money story and you make a decision that feels terrifying, and maybe you start spiraling into an anxiety attack. The physical sensations in your body when you are triggered only last for 90 seconds. That is a scientific fact. The reason that they last longer is because of the stories that you tell yourself in your head. So for example, in this situation, you're going to have these old money stories just spiraling in your head. So to get rid of the intense feelings in your body in only 90 seconds, the first step is to get rid of the story. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's just temporary. And I promise you it gets easier the more that you do this exercise. The second step is to focus on the physical sensations in your body. So for example, when I get anxiety, I feel it in my chest. It feels tight. My heart is racing. I just feel like a black hole is consuming my entire chest. So for me, when I do this exercise, I put a hand on my chest and I just focus on the physical sensations. And then I also put a hand on my diaphragm to make sure that I am breathing. And ideally, you will be breathing with your diaphragm, but all of that matters is that you're breathing. And then additionally, what I do is I tell myself I am safe in my body, because that's the problem with intense feelings. We don't feel safe in our body, but we are. So I like to reassure myself that I am safe in my body. And then, for example, if I'm at home, which is a safe space, I will look around to further validate that I'm in a physical safe space. So it's all about feeling safe in your body while feeling your feelings. And I promise you, as long as you get rid of the story, the physical sensations go away within 90 seconds. And that's how you can really feel empowered in your own life. Because when you're having these feelings and they feel all consuming and you feel helpless against them, that just turns into this whole spiral. But when you are in control of your own emotional state, and that doesn't mean not feeling your feelings, it means feeling safe in your body while feeling your feelings. It means being in, because you're an adult now, it means regulating your nervous system when you're in these scary situations. And when you're able to do that, you're able to get out of your comfort zone more. And that's exactly what this work is all about. So just to review, number 1 is naming your money story. Number 2, ask yourself, is this true? Hint, the answer is no. 3, write the new story based on evidence from your own life. 4, practice the new story in the wild. And that's how you rewrite your money stories. It's not by thinking differently, it's by living differently and embodying that change. And again, that's how we go from knowing to glowing. And if you want to go deeper on this, because again, identifying the story is the first step, but rewriting it in your actual life is where the magic happens. So if you want to do this in a group of like-minded people, that's exactly what we're doing inside my Money Muse Masterclass. This is my brand new 3-day live masterclass happening June 9th through June 11th. And on day 1, we're going deeper into this topic and dismantling invisible money stories that are keeping you stuck in scarcity, including the sneaky ones that you've never even considered. And then on day 2, we're going to do some energetic work and also some practical money and saving strategy. And then day 3 is live hot seat coaching. So if you really want to get into your money stories, this is your opportunity to get personally one-on-one coached with me. So you can go even deeper on your money stories and kick them to the curb. And just to be clear, this is not a passive masterclass where you just take notes and listen to me talk and leave unchanged. This is real shifts and real tools that you can start implementing immediately. And my private clients pays thousands of dollars for this level of proximity, and now it's accessible to this group. So if you're tired of knowing your patterns and still living them, this is for you. I'll put the link in the description because we aren't living by other people's beliefs anymore. And stay tuned for video 7 of the Broke versus Abundant Energy series, where we're going to be talking about relationships. So I will see you in the next video.